Hi, it's me again. This is a tutorial on filling in the main sections of Form 2 for Visual Tree Risk Assessment. That is basic tree risk assessment. It is because some of you have asked me how to fill in this Form 2 for your group assignment, in which you have to assess a tree with some specific conditions. There are several sections in Form 2. The first section is the general information. But because you are not really working in a department where you need to conduct tree inspection, so there are some boxes which I have put green lines here, so you can just leave those boxes blank. But there are some important pieces of information as well. First, it is the date and time information, and then it is the time spent on the inspection for your group assignment. And then there is this box in the middle, the bottom. So that is the last inspection date. You can just make up an imaginary information for this, or you can just put down NA. This is just like the situation for trees which have never been inspected before. Then you have the tree information. So what is tree information? That is about everything about the tree. So you have some boxes that have been crossed out as well, and then you have the tree species to fill in. So on the left hand side you have this normal font. On the right hand side you have this italic font. Which one is correct? Let me tell you, you should use italics for species name, for the scientific name of tree species. And then for tricolor you have black, red and yellow. You know which color to use because it is specified in the assessment brief. And then there are some dimensional parameters. So with visual estimation or using a tape measure, you can get all these numbers. And at the bottom, there are some boxes. For these boxes, just check them if you feel needed. You should only assess a certain triage color tree, so you know what to do. And then the next section is the location information. Now, you do not have the master zone reference or the subzone reference because you are not in the position of a certain tree management authority. So just leave them blank. And then for the coordinates, you can use your smartphone, okay, your GPS app. Find out that information, the X and Y coordinates. Then remember in lecture 2, you have learned the categorization of tree risk management zone. 1, 2, 3 in descending order of severity of consequences. Okay, then Chinese location, English location, and then the district. That is quite easy to fill in. And for the location type, just check one of the box, one box, or if you have more information like utility poles, you can just write it down at the bottom. But sometimes you may not find this piece of information. Then for target assessment, you remember that during lecture 3, I have provided a lot of examples for you. And then in lecture number 7, you have also gone through 2 site-based or target-based mitigation measure. Okay, just fill these in. Okay, you all of you know how to describe a target, what a target zone is, and then the 4 classes of occupancy rate. You know their definitions as well. So in your report, just put down the definition in your report. And then here I use a green box to highlight the target number. Just put them in your mind first. Later, you will need to use these numbers again. Then for site conditions, all these have been covered in lecture number 4. If you detect any of these situations, just check the box. And then for the general conditions of the tree and the site, all these are covered in lecture 4 and maybe some from lecture 5. All these are quite easy to observe. Then for the tree-based assessment, you can assess different parts of the tree. The crown, just check the box, and there are 2 options or 2 pieces of information. If you check the box chlorotic as well as the box necrotic, remember you need to specify the amount of foliage or leaves and twigs and branches which are affected by these conditions. If you just check the box without specifying the percentage, then it is a wrong practice. Please state the percentage. Just a visual estimation will do. Okay, a simple task. Then for branch condition, just like the crown condition, there are some boxes in which you need to specify the conditions. If you can identify the pests and disease, or parasitic plants, or the fungal fruiting bodies, or the response growth, if you can identify those features, please fill in the information. Then for trunk conditions, there seems to be a lot to fill in, but actually it is quite simple. So you just check the boxes, and then if you detect tree cavities, you fill in their length, width, and diameter. The depth. So maximum 4 cavities. You put the most serious cavity as number 1, the next serious as number 2, then number 3, and number 4. But remember, don't put every cavity on this form, because if you say that I find a very small hole, a very tiny hole, let's say it is 1 millimeter in diameter, and then you put it in this form, then I think that tree would be overrated in terms of risk conditions. So make sure that your assessment is sensible. Let me give you another example in root conditions. Let's say you found that there is a tiny piece of root. Okay, let's say 1 cm long, 1 millimeter in diameter, which is exposed. Okay, then such a tiny feature, okay, very small feature, and then you for that feature you check this box, exposed root. It is not so sensible, because if you use a microscopic scale for tree risk inspection, then I think that you will have to check all the boxes in Form 2. You are assessing major risk, major defects. So be sure to focus on the features that are of real concerns. And then you have risk categorization. Remember in lecture number 6, I have introduced 2 matrices to you. The likelihood matrix and the risk rating matrix. So I have provided an example for you. Remember that I just told you that remember the target number. You will use it again. This section, the risk categorization section, is the section which you will use the target number again. Let's say your target number is the root or the root system, then you just restate it here. Then state the conditions of concern. If there is only one defect, you can just copy and paste the defect name into this box. Sometimes you can also state the surrounding environment of that defect. Then for part size, in terms of millimeter, state the diameter of that tree part. If it is the whole tree which you think is risky, then the part size will be the dBH, diameter at breast height. Then that is the fall distance, the distance between the that part and the target. And then for all these boxes on the right hand side, they are the likelihood, consequences, and risk rating. I think you know how to fill them in, because in your quiz 2, there are a lot of questions about these likelihoods, consequences, and risk rating things. Then in lecture number 7, we have gone through the mitigation measures. You see here, we use the target number again. Okay, but now we are on the second target, which is the branch, and then this is the mitigation measures you propose. There is no correct answer for the mitigation measures you propose. You can do tree-based mitigation. You can do target-based mitigation. And then for this anticipated completion date, remember for trees with different color, there is a time limit for the completion of the mitigation measures. And finally, you have the residual risk, which is the risk that remains after the completion of the mitigation measures. So if you complete the mitigation measure, you conduct the tree risk assessment again, use the risk rating matrix again, and you find out the residual risk. That is quite simple. If you know how to use the risk rating matrix in the section before, in the previous section, then you know how to use the same matrix again in this section. And finally, there are some notes, explanations, something like that. So these two boxes, okay, are just restatement. And then if you want to up-level your assessment, provide the justifications and the level of assessment you want, or the specific assessment method you want to use in the future. And finally, that is the inspection limitations for your inspection, okay, for this inspection. And you can also propose next inspection date. Remember, the inspection frequency for different tri-H colored trees are different. So that is the end. I hope that you can learn, or you can apply what you have learned when you do your group assignment. Thank you.